Welcome, foolish mortals, to my review of 2023's Disney's Haunted Mansion movie. Well, it was a long time coming. It is finally here. Disney's Haunted Mansion, the 2023 version, based on the famous ride of Disneyland / Disney World, whatever you want to put it. Let me give you a little bit of backstory out, because I knew about the Haunted Mansion and I only visited that ride once. It was many years ago that I had the opportunity to go to Disneyland, and I was so eager to go to the Haunted Mansion. I know that there are many people who they love it so much they go to it as many times as they want. I only had the opportunity to go there just once, and I can see why it has its appeal. It's really well done. The set designs are really good. It has a great lore. I can see why there is a fan following to the Haunted Mansion. So I could really say that time that I went to Disneyland, and I really could say that it was one of my favorite rides so far, because I rode some others, but that one I enjoy it a lot. Of course, when it's about the Haunted Mansion, I also have to pinpoint, of course, the elephant in the room, which is the 2003 movie which starred Eddie Murphy. I was a little bit naive when the first time I saw it. I thought that it was kind of like okay. I thought I was expecting, scary. I wasn't during that phase in which I was watching a lot of scary movies, and when I thought I wasn't expecting too much, because, well, Disney doesn't want to, scare your little children or something like that. I thought that the movie was okay, but then I began to see why this movie kind of failed the expectations of others, and I can see where the movie went downhill for my taste, to the point that, yeah, the 2003 movie that starred Eddie Murphy was bad. It's still a legitimately bad movie. Although if I can give it a little bit of a positive out of it, the set designs were really good. That's one of the few things that you could kind of give some kind of positive on that movie. So there we go. And you know that this movie was done because they wanted to capitalize on the success of the Pirates of the Caribbean. And now that I think about it, there weren't any much of movies that are based on rides. I can name you a few. There was, of course, Pirates of the Caribbean. It's obvious that I have some mixed feelings out of it, because it depends on the movies. I never saw the Country Bears movie. Although I don't think that I wanna watch it, because the more I see snippets out of it or clips, I realize how dumb this movie is, and I don't think that it is for me. I know that many people will say that it is worth it to watch Christopher Walken being Christopher Walken, but that enough doesn't save the movie, at least for my taste. Tomorrowland was boring. I remember that one, that it was so boring that I didn't like it. And, well, I think that I don't remember any more other movies that are based on Disneyland rides. I think that they're missing Splash Mountain, Space Mountain. Oh my! God forbid there's gonna be It's a Small World movie. Imagine if they made a movie out of that ride. But when it is about the Haunted Mansion, I did have, intel that a movie was gonna be made. At first, they thought that Guillermo del Toro was gonna direct one of those adaptations for the Haunted Mansion. Unfortunately, it didn't come out. Although I could have wished to see what will be his idea. I only know that Guillermo del Toro can make dark movies, and considering how big respect as a director I have with him, I will feel very curious to see what will have been the Haunted Mansion directed by Guillermo del Toro. Of course, that a few years ago we did have a little bit of a taste for the Haunted Mansion because the Muppets took that task with the Muppets Haunted Mansion, and it was a surprise hit. I saw it once, and since I like the Muppets, I actually came out enjoying it. There is a little bit of a creepy scene that involved Gonzo growing up old. And so I give him my respect that it was silly, but you know what? Silly is in the name of the Muppets, of course. So I enjoy it so much that many people even joke at saying that, hey, the Muppets Haunted Mansion is better than the Eddie Murphy version. But here we are. We got the 2023 legit Disney Haunted Mansion movie. And the trailers didn't catch me, saying that I'm hyping for this movie. No, it didn't do that. I found the tone a little bit dry, in my opinion. But still, I got my curiosity because, well, it really could be better than the Eddie Murphy version, and I'm gonna keep saying that because, well, comparisons are inevitable. But now that I've seen it, I'm happy to say that my expectations were correct. It is better than the Eddie Murphy version. I will tell you in a few moments why. But in terms of a standalone movie, I kind of come up saying that I do have some mixed feelings. But that's not saying that it's a bad movie. I thought that this movie was okay. That's my stance that I have with this movie. It's okay. It has some flaws here and there, but it has some strengths that keeps it from being a bad movie. And I mostly say that because the movie didn't start it out well with me. It had some rough patches at the start. But as the movie went on, it began to grow fond of me. I grew fond. And I just came out saying that, you know what, that movie isn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. But that's just me because I'm a little bit of a bias on Disney when it's about live action. I was never a fan of live action Disney movies because sometimes they come across as being so corny or so whimsical that it kind of feels like they're trying to imitate cartoons. And I'm not a fan when live action actors, they try to imitate cartoons. It doesn't feel it instead of looking charming, they look embarrassingly bad. I think this is also one of the reasons why the Eddie Murphy movie didn't sit well, at least with me, because it tries to be goofy and cartoonish, and it failed. But right now, we're not going to talk much about the Eddie Murphy movie. We're talking about this one, in which this one stars Lakeith Stanfield, also has Rosario Dawson, Owen Wilson, what was it, Tiffany Haddish, Danny DeVito, Jared Leto is also there, and Madame, what was it, Madame Leota? Yeah, Madame Leota. We got what was it, Jamie Lee Curtis, and of course a kid, because they always have to add a kid into it. Don't worry, I just pull in your leg like that. The kid is played by Chase Dillon to give it some credit. So, like it started, the movie stars Lakeith Stanfield. He's a tour guide for, you know, making haunted tour guides and showing people. He's grieving because he lost his wife, until he gets an opportunity because he's been hired by this woman and a child who went to the eponymous haunted mansion, and they get haunts, and they want him, you know, to investigate, since he has a special camera to take photographs of ghosts. At first, he's like, okay, they're paying me, let's do it. And then he realizes that the haunts are real when he goes home, and apparently, whenever you enter the house, you get haunted, and they're gonna follow you everywhere. So the guy is like, okay, fine, I'm stuck with these people. I'm stuck with Owen Wilson, who plays a priest. Then comes to the party Tiffany Haddish, who plays a psychic, and Danny DeVito, a scholar. Basically, they're stuck in this mansion, and they have to find out why the hauntings are happening, and so they can, well, live up their life, because they don't want to, you know, have their ghosts being followed by ghosts everywhere. At first, and the timing of the story starts out a little bit rocky. Like, for example, we got the introduction of the movie, in which we got Rosario Dawson and she's with her son, and they get into the mansion. They get the spooks, and they run away from the house. And then they come back and inside the house, and I was like, why would they stay in the house? I mean, if you find ghosts in a house if you find a ghost in the house in which it torments you with an axe, I will fly out of the house and never ever come back. So I was like, why they're back? Until later the movie comes out and saying that, well, we can't leave because they still follow us. So in that part of the movie, it kind of flops a little bit into the pacing, in which again the pacing is kind of slow and again a little bit dry. But let me talk about the positive right now, in which it is the cast. The cast and the characters is what brings the charm of this movie, and this is basically the biggest strength that it has. Lakeith Stanfield is our main protagonist, and he's really good on his role, and I actually like the emotional arc that he has, in which he was married, but unfortunately he lost his wife. There is even a segment when he talks about his background, where he showcases emotion, and that was brilliant. This is where this is also one of the biggest strengths that this movie has when compared to the goofball 2003 Haunted Mansion, in which the emotional side of this movie really hits in, and it is thanks to his acting, where when he showcased his backstory, that it hits. It did hit me, and it's really good. it's not exactly, it's not exactly kind of like grim or something like that. They don't want to go too far, but it is emotional enough to keep you interested in the character. We got also the other characters. Rosario Dawson, she played, like the mother of the child, because at first she went into the mansion because she wants to, start out a new life with her child. It still kind of begs the question: if you're gonna buy a house, why do you buy a big, gigantic mansion for only two people to live in? That's a little bit excessive. She plays fine as a mother. Rosario Dawson plays with her strength. The kid, Chase Dillon, he was really good. As child actors goes, he does really good, and you can tell that he does have chemistry, especially with the Lakeith Stanfield character. There is also Owen Wilson, and personally, Owen Wilson is kind of like my favorite character. He plays out also his strengths of, well, being Owen Wilson. He plays like the priest, but you can tell that he is, well, he's kind of like this con artist priest that you kind of, even at first sight, you kind of doubt that he really is a priest. But his whippy one-liners that he gives, he's basically just playing Owen Wilson, but still, as a guy who likes Owen Wilson when he acts as a comedic guy, I was like, well, this guy got me. Tiffany Haddish, she plays a psychic, and she also has her comedic timing that I really like, and but well, you get most of her being, Tiffany Haddish being trying her best to be a psychic. Although at first she is, you're kind of like, maybe she's a little bit of a hack, but then she's like, okay, she's stuck into this same situation. And then we got Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito, he plays a scholar who, I kind of like that at first. He's like, you know what? This looks so cool. I'm in. I want to be in it. But then he mentioned that he's gonna have heart surgery, and everyone was like, no, we don't want to drag this guy into this thing. But now he's like, no, I'm going there, whether you like it or not. And he puts himself into the movie, and he basically plays out like the scholar in the movie. Other characters that appear into the movie is, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis. She plays the iconic Madame Leota. Madame Leota, the head inside the crystal ball, and you know that she gives out her strength being an Academy Award winner. And I like the effect that she has. And of course, let's talk about the ghost. I like the ghost in this movie. They keep out, the lore of the haunted mansion. I'm not exactly 100% knowledgeable about the whole lore of the haunted mansion, but it keeps like that. It keeps it. It gives out an air of mystery into the mansion, and I like the lore that it had. That, as far as I can remember from the movie, how they explain, it is a house in which a grieving man, he lost his wife because she committed suicide by poison, and he hired Madame Leota. I always forget the name. I'm not very good at remembering names after a while. He hires Madame Leota to make a seance to try to communicate with his wife, but unfortunately, he couldn't communicate with his wife, and each time they bring out a goat. are bringing out a ghost, but the ghost technically stays in the mansion, and they keep piling up, and of course the haunted mansion, they always kind of have this playful side in which it says that, well, ghosts are happy for being ghosts. They're just that death is not exactly so bad, so they're having kind of like a good time. And of course they add the lore, they have the lore that eventually they pick up a bad ghost, which is the, what was the name of the Hatbox Ghost. Sorry, I always forgot the name of that. The infamous Hatbox Ghost, which is played by Jared Leto. They make the villain out of that ghost. For those who doesn't know, it is an infamous ghost that I think they didn't have it at first in the ride. It didn't have it initially until technology advanced. That it's basically a headless man, and the head is on a lantern. They made a villain out of that ghost, in which they claim that he is evil. He's evil. Well, it is technically evil because he is played by Jared Leto. And my God, I know that in the past I gave some slack Jared Leto. Well, not slack. I gave a lot of punishment to Jared Leto. I never liked that guy in any movie that I have seen. I still don't forgive him because he played a horrible Joker. But finally, this is the first time that I see him in a movie in which I don't hate the guy. He just, well, doing his work. And they gave a backstory on the Hatbox Ghost. And my God, that backstory is creepy. It is a creepy backstory. Creepy in the sense that it's murderous. I'm not gonna reveal what it is, but when you see and pay attention to his backstory, it's chilling. It is a chilling backstory. And basically that's all I have to say about, well, the acting in there. Each actor, they have their chemistry and they act very well. The cinematography is always a gimme when it's about Disney. I know that they wanted to make some justice with the Haunted Mansion, considering that there's a lot of fans that really love the ride, and it shows that the ghost effects are really good. The house itself is amazing. You can tell that they worked their hardest to make the Haunted Mansion look good. There are scenes where they go to the cemetery, or they go to the house and it begins to shift the walls, or going into a different perspective. It works there. And it feels like a little bit like the ride. It even have the stretchiness, the part of where the room stretches. That's a nice homage to the Haunted Mansion. One thing that I wish that the movie could have done a little bit better is showing a little bit more about the ghost. I mean, they kind of do, but mostly they start appearing in the second half. The first half, they're just kind of there. The movie kind of gives out kind of like an excuse that the ghost cannot be seen with the naked eye. I like that they try to say that, well, the ghosts are there and you can photograph them with a special camera, which our protagonist has. it kind of made me remind me of Fatal Frame. And because of the pacing, it kind of takes a while, to see the ghosts. And they're there. They finally showcase the ghosts here and there. Although they don't show much about them, they just kind of showcase. They're showcased almost as equivalent as an Easter egg. And I kind of wish they could have shown more to make it feel more immersive and kind of give out a little bit of a fan service in saying that, hey, look at those ghosts here. I remember this ghost. I remember this ghost. Kind of playing out a little bit more of the, on the ghostly side. And this is where I also want to tell you that, like I said, this movie has emotion because it does comes up with the term of grief. Some of the characters, they have a kind of like a moment in which, especially our main protagonist and the child, that they're grieving for something, and they kind of wish they can communicate with with your loved one and tell them that you love them. Again, there is a special moment in which Lakeith Stanfield kind of steals the moment with his emotion, and of course it showcases that it is also a parallel with the owner of the mansion, and Mr. Gracie was called. Then we got, of course, the other characters who, again, they're basically a couple of misfits, in my opinion. We got a so-called priest, we got a so-called psychic, and the scholar who just wants to see ghosts, and he got a little bit more than what he got bargained, and of course the mother trying to form a life with the child, in which the child he's having some rough patches in with his new life. But that kind of also remind me that let me talk to you about the humor, in which the humor, I might say that it's a little bit hit or miss, which it's basically, I blame it because of the dry pacing that this movie has. But I take that humor much better compared to the 2003 Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy, because that one is wanted to become more of kind of like a goofball kind of comedy. This one comes off a little bit on the, sometimes it comes off a little bit corny. But it's dry corny, and like I said, sometimes it has its hit or miss moments. And another thing that kind of went down a little bit with the movie, at least for my personal side, is that the movie has its dark moments, but I kind of wish it was a little bit darker. But this is just me having kind of like this sense of morbid humor that I don't care. I don't care if people are gonna say that we don't wanna go all out because it's gonna scare the children. And this is what unfortunately this movie has, is that it tries to play out a little bit too safe and scares that there's nothing much very memorable about this movie that in the scare factor. I mean, even in the Muppets Haunted Mansion, the closest scene to being scary is seeing Gonzo getting old, and that the Muppet itself was very scary and memorable. This one hardly. Maybe you might get a little bit of a scare with some with some of the cinematography. Sometimes you might not like one of the pictures changing into one thing or another, or the makeup of the ghosts that they do look decent, at least for the haunted mansion sake. But you're not gonna get something like, for example, someone getting their head. You know what? Scratch that. Now that I remember, there is a silhouette of someone getting their head chopped. But nothing less. They're gonna take it a little bit likely. So basically, that's all I have to say about 2023's Disney's Haunted Mansion. It was okay. Personally, it was okay. Still better than the Eddie Murphy version. I still find the Muppets Haunted Mansion version superior than this one, but it doesn't hurt, to check it out, and so I can give it a little bit of a like recommendation, at least for curiosity's sake, or for better or for worse, it's still kind of like a rental. You're not gonna exactly miss much. It's still if this movie is successful on bringing people interest on the haunted mansion, and it allows getting an audience to get there, you're gonna get this. It is likely serviceable enough for people who like the attraction. As for moviegoers, it is an okay movie. It's gonna take out 2 hours, and probably you might forget it. Maybe I will forget it. Maybe not, because it's still Disney haunted mansion. But it's enough to give you a grin on my face. Grin, huh? Grinning Ghost, there I come to socialize. Yeah, they have the music, the song there.